Right, so get this. We're diving deep today into the wild world of Ray Mahn.
Ray Mahn.
The Aussie TV personality who's either a showbiz legend or the king of tall tales. You sent over a whole stack of his YouTube videos where he's just spilling the tea on his career, some hilarious. But the big question is, how much of it actually happened?
It's a real treasure trove, isn't it? And some of it's so outlandish you have to wonder.
Oh, yeah.
If he's got a direct line to the fiction department.
Like, did he really influence the '86 Formula One Grand Prix? Was he secretly the voice of Big Brother, like in the middle of the night?
Oh.
And what's the deal with this whole sticky date pudding scandal?
Okay, let's start with that Grand Prix.
Okay.
Adelaide 1986, Ray, all geared up for the celebrity race, trash-talking his rivals in his Nissan XR.
Living the dream.
Living the dream until he gets bumped into a wall.
Ouch. So no more racing glory for Red.
No, but he heads to a pub to watch the main event, and that's where the story takes a turn.
Oh, here we go.
For the unbelievable, he claims a piece of his wrecked car caused Nigel Mansell's tire blowout.
The one that cost him the championship?
The one that cost him the championship.
Oh, nine.
Now, this is where we have to put on our skeptical hats.
All right.
For starters, think about the forces involved in an F1 race.
Yeah.
Would debris from a Nissan XR even survive on the track?
Right.
Let alone cause that kind of catastrophic failure to a high-performance machine like Mansell's.
It's a pretty big stretch.
It's a pretty big stretch. And wouldn't race officials have noticed and cleared any debris immediately?
Yeah, safety's like paramount in Formula One.
Absolutely. Now, I'm not saying Ray deliberately made this up, but it reveals something fascinating about how memory works, especially with events that happened long ago.
Okay, so unpack that for us.
Well, over time, memories can get distorted. We might unconsciously embellish details.
Okay.
Add elements that make the story more exciting.
Right.
Maybe even convince ourselves we played a bigger role than we actually did.
So it's not necessarily about lying, but more about how our brains kind of make sense of the past.
Yeah.
And make ourselves the stars of the show a little bit.
Exactly. And it's particularly interesting in Ray's case because his whole persona is larger-than-life entertainer.
Right.
He's a master storyteller.
Yeah.
So sometimes that line between fact and fiction can get a little blurred.
That makes me think about something you said earlier about the psychology of celebrity.
Yeah.
Like, almost inherent need to stay relevant.
It's like they need to constantly reinforce their relevance to be part of the cultural conversation.
Right.
What better way to do that than by placing yourself
At the center.
at the center of a major event, even if it's a bit of a stretch?
So maybe he genuinely believes he played a role in Mansell's fate.
It's possible.
Even if it's more about his desire for a good story
Yeah.
than actual reality.
Could be.
Okay, so let's move on to his claim about being the third Big Brother.
All right.
He says he voiced the character like during the graveyard shift
Graveyard shift.
in the show's early days.
Yeah.
Ordering pizzas, handling late-night drama, even a whole turkey incident.
Oh, my goodness.
But then, bam, he gets replaced.
Oh.
And they dub over his voice. So was it even possible to have, like, multiple Big Brother voice actors back then?
Well, it's not as far-fetched as it sounds.
Okay.
You got to remember, Big Brother was groundbreaking. They were figuring things out as they went along.
Right.
Logistically, having someone cover those late-night hours when everyone's hopefully asleep
Makes sense.
makes sense. You don't want the main voice actor sounding exhausted during prime time.
Oh, for sure.
But here's the thing.
Sure.
Replacing the voice of Big Brother,
Yeah.
such a crucial element, that would have been a major decision.
Right.
You'd expect some record of it. Contracts, production notes, internal memos, something.
Yeah.
And the fact that this supposed incident went completely undocumented
Yeah.
raises a red flag.
And wouldn't other crew members or even some of the housemates have spilled the beans by now?
You would think.
This is reality TV secrets don't stay buried for long.
Exactly. But let's not dismiss Ray's story entirely.
No.
Even if the specifics are questionable, there's a charm to the way he tells it. The self-deprecation,
Yeah.
the jokes about being on the graveyard shift. It's like he's playing with the audience a little bit.
Okay, so maybe he's exaggerating for comedic effect,
Right.
but there's still a chance he was involved in some capacity. Maybe not as the main voice.
Maybe.
The mystery continues.
It does.
Okay, are you ready for a story that's almost too bizarre to believe?
Oh, I'm ready.
Ray's short-lived political career.
Oh, yeah.
It's the 90s. He decides to run for parliament. Has this catchy campaign song, the whole shebang. But then it all unravels because of, wait for it,
What?
A sticky date pudding.
A sticky date pudding.
That's what brought down his political aspirations.
That's what he claims.
Seriously.
Apparently, he enjoyed this dessert during a meeting with some lobbyists and failed to declare the expense on his campaign register.
Oh.
Seems like a minor infraction.
Yeah.
But in the world of politics, even a dessert can be a weapon.
Right. Especially if his opponents were looking for anything.
Oh, yeah.
To discredit him.
Exactly. And Ray never one to miss an opportunity for theatrics.
Of course not.
Holds a press conference and whips out the very shirt he was wearing that night.
He kept the shirt.
Complete with a sticky date pudding stain.
That's incredible.
It is.
Either he's a brilliant strategist or completely bonkers.
Maybe a little of both.
It's pure Ray Mahn.
It is.
Right.
Whether the stain is genuine or carefully staged,
right.
The whole thing is a masterclass in turning a potential career-ending blunder into a captivating story.
It is.
He's a natural showman even in the face of adversity.
This is what makes this whole deep dive so fascinating. We're not just analyzing the truth of his stories, but we're also getting a glimpse into his personality, his motivations, his unique approach to storytelling.
Absolutely. And it raises questions about the nature of celebrity, the power of a good yarn, and the way we construct our own narratives.
And on that note, we'll wrap up part 1. Stick with us for part 2, where we'll delve into even more of Ray's outrageous claims and see if we can separate the man from the myth. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Ray Mahn. Last time we left off with a sticky date pudding stained shirt and a whole lot of questions.
Oh, yeah, a whole lot of questions.
Ready for more?
Absolutely. We've barely scratched the surface of this mountain of YouTube gold.
Oh, yeah.
You sent us, remember, these are Ray's isolation showbiz yarns. Straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
And speaking of horses.
Oh, here we go.
Let's talk about the Logies incident. You know, the one that allegedly got him banned from Australian television's biggest night.
The story that's become almost legendary. Or infamous, depending on who you ask. We're talking 1988 Logie Awards. Ray, fresh off the cancellation of his hit show City Patrol, might have overindulged in the celebratory spirit a little bit.
Okay, details, please. What exactly went down?
Well, according to Ray, things got a bit heated in the men's room. He had a disagreement at the urinal, and in the rush to get back to his seat, he might have forgotten a crucial step in the, shall we say, readjustment process.
Wait, he walked back to his seat with his, out.
That's what he claims, and to make matters worse, he accidentally flashed a young up-and-coming actor.
Oh, no.
Sitting in the row ahead of him.
Oh, right.
It became a major scandal splashed across the tabloids, and Ray claims it effectively ended his chances of ever attending the Logies again.
Wow, talk about a memorable exit. I guess it's like going out with a bang.
Yeah.
But let's be real. Could a wardrobe malfunction really get you banned from an award show even back then?
It's hard to say for sure, but remember, this was the late 80s. Social norms were different. Public indecency was taken much more seriously. Plus, the Logies are a prestigious event. The organizers probably weren't thrilled about having their night overshadowed by Ray's exposure.
Makes sense, but there's something I find interesting about this story. Ray says that while his career took a hit, the young actor he accidentally flashed actually benefited from the notoriety.
Yeah, it's almost like a twisted version of that no such thing as bad publicity adage, this incident, which could have been incredibly damaging.
Right.
Inadvertently launched another actor's career. Talk about unintended consequences.
And Ray seems to find a certain humor in that, even calling himself Horse.
Horse.
After the incident, which was the crew's nickname for him.
Right.
It's that ability to laugh at himself, even when faced with embarrassment, that makes him so relatable, even if his actions might be questionable.
Yeah, he's not taking himself too seriously, which I think makes us more forgiving as an audience.
Okay, let's rewind a bit to the early 90s when Ray decides to try his hand at politics.
Right.
This was a whole new arena for him.
Oh, yeah.
And I have to admit, the idea of Ray Mahn as a politician is pretty wild.
It's pretty out there.
Oh, absolutely. He claimed to be courted by both major political parties, ultimately choosing one because they promised to let him record his own campaign song.
Oh, wow.
And let me tell you, this song is something else.
I've heard snippets. It's like a time capsule of cheesy 90s music.
Oh, yeah.
Complete with synthesizers and promises to make Australia great again.
And what's fascinating is that the lyrics actually reveal a lot about Ray's persona. There's a strong focus on patriotism, traditional values, and a can-do attitude.
Right.
All delivered with his signature over-the-top enthusiasm.
Yeah, it's like he's trying to channel a mix of Crocodile Dundee and a used car salesman with a dash of, dare I say, political populism.
It's a potent mix.
It is.
You can see how that kind of persona combined with his celebrity status could appeal to a certain segment of the electorate.
Oh, for sure. He was already a household name, familiar, likable, and he presented himself as a man of the people, someone who understood their concerns.
But we know things didn't go as planned, right?
Right.
That's where the infamous sticky date pudding scandal comes in.
The sticky date pudding, this seemingly innocent dessert, became a symbol of Ray's downfall. Now, whether the whole thing was a genuine oversight or a deliberate smear campaign by his opponents is debatable.
But let's not forget the visual.
Oh, yeah.
Ray holding a press conference, waving around a shirt stained with sticky date pudding. It's a scene that's hard to erase from your memory.
And that's the brilliance of it.
Yeah.
Even if the scandal was blown out of proportion, Ray knew how to use it to his advantage. He turned it into a media spectacle, something that people would talk about.
Yeah.
And that, in a way, is a victory in itself, especially for someone like Ray, who thrives on attention.
So maybe the political career was short-lived, but the sticky date pudding incident cemented his status as a legend, or at least as a master of generating buzz.
Exactly. And that's what makes analyzing Ray Mahn so captivating. It's not just about separating fact from fiction, but also about understanding how he uses storytelling to shape his own narrative and maintain his relevance in the public eye.
It's like we're peeling back the layers of a very elaborate onion, and each layer reveals something new and surprising about the man behind the myth.
It really does.
And on that note, we'll take a quick break. Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll attempt to put all the pieces together and finally answer the question, is Ray Mahn a reliable narrator? Or is he the ultimate illusionist, a master of spinning yarns that blur the lines between truth and entertainment? Welcome back to The Deep Dives. We've spent this episode in the world of Ray Mahn, the Aussie TV personality, who's a master storyteller, to put it mildly.
From Grand Prix crashes to late-night Big Brother gigs, political campaigns fueled by sticky date pudding, and Logie's incidents that are, well, let's just say unforgettable.
It's been a wild ride, but now it's time to face the music. Is Ray Mahn a reliable narrator? Can we trust his version of events, or should we take it all with a giant grain of salt?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And honestly, after sifting through all these YouTube yarns, I don't think there's a simple yes or no answer.
I'm inclined to agree. What stands out to you as we kind of look back at everything we've covered?
What's fascinating is that even when his stories seem outlandish, there's often a kernel of truth buried within them. Take the Grand Prix incident, for example. It's highly improbable that a piece of his Nissan XR caused Mansell's tire blowout.
Physics just don't add up. But
Ray was definitely there.
Yeah.
He did crash, and he did watch the main race with a front row seat to history. The embellishment comes in the significance he attributes to his own role in the events.
It's like he can't resist inserting himself into the center of the action.
Right.
Even if it means stretching the truth a little. And we see that pattern repeat itself throughout his stories.
Absolutely. It's not necessarily about malicious deception, but more about this inherent need to be part of the narrative, to be a key player in the grand scheme of things.
It makes me think about the psychology of celebrity. It's like this constant pressure to stay relevant, to be in the spotlight.
Exactly. And for someone like Ray, who thrives on attention and entertaining others, storytelling becomes a way to maintain that connection with the public, to keep his name out there.
So he might genuinely believe some of these embellished tales, especially after years of retelling them and shaping them to fit his own persona.
And that's where memory comes into play. We often romanticize the past, filling in gaps with details that fit the narrative we've created for ourselves. It's not about lying, but more about how our brains try to make sense of our experiences and, let's face it, make us the heroes of our own stories.
Right. It's like we all have our own Ray Mahn inside us, shaping our memories and experiences to fit the image we want to project.
And Ray just takes it to an extreme, making it an art form. He's the ultimate unreliable narrator. But that's precisely what makes him so captivating. We're drawn to his charisma, his humor, and his ability to spin a yarn that keeps us on the edge of our seats.
He's like that friend who always has the best stories.
Yeah.
Even if you know they're probably exaggerating a bit.
Exactly. It's about the entertainment value, the pure joy of being swept away by a good tale, and Ray delivers that in spades.
So what's the final verdict? Is Ray Mahn a legend or a fraud?
I think it's more nuanced than that he's a master storyteller. A showman and a product of his time, whether his stories are entirely true or not, is almost beside the point.
It's the journey that matters. The laughter, the sense of wonder, and the glimpse into a world where sticky date puddings can derail political campaigns and wardrobe malfunctions can make you a legend.
He reminds us that life is full of surprises and that sometimes the most outlandish tales are the ones that stick with us long after the facts have faded.
So the next time you hear a Ray Mahn story, remember to appreciate the artistry, the blend of truth and fiction, and the sheer audacity of it all, because in the end, it's the stories that make life interesting.
And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the world of Ray Mahn. We leave it to you, dear listener, to decide whether you believe him or not, but regardless of your verdict, we hope you've enjoyed the ride.